on the Taco Bell hotline, we've got our buddies. We've got Jordan and we've got Brian. You guys,
how's it going?
You guys with us?
Yep, how you doing?
And we're doing great. And it was a great lineup on Showtime. And y'all are with MMA Nonstop, correct?
That's right, MMAnonstop.com.
That's right. And you can also follow them on Twitter. We follow each other. We got great conversations there and here on 104.9 The Horn on Layin Down the Law. Fellas, great card. I know y'all. I went 2 for 2. I picked Tim and I picked Dan. So that I didn't, concern myself. I guess those were the two biggest fights in my world. And so I consider myself 2 for 2 last night. But y'all just, as you will, take the listeners through the great lineup for Strikeforce on Showtime Sports last night.
No problem. Yeah, it was actually a great night of fights. Probably one of the best cards that Strikeforce has put together. They started off with a welterweight matchup with Scott Smith and Tariq Saffiedine. Both of them are coming off of losses, but it was a great fight. Tariq Saffiedine came in there. He really took it to Scott Smith, pounded him most of the whole fight. He won that with a decision. Tyrone Woodley fought against Paul Daly. Paul Daly's coming out of the UFC after a few fights, and he's been in the Strikeforce for a little while, and is now fighting Tyrone Woodley, who's undefeated. And the next fight was Misha Tate against Marlos Conan. You also had Tim Kennedy and Robbie Lawler, and then obviously the main event was Dan Henderson and Fedor Emelianenko.
Yeah, and you saw that I did pick Dan when it was out there on Twitter, so I knew that was going to be tough. But I was a little surprised that he took him out in the TKO in the first. So sometimes you get lucky, right?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just got to catch somebody in your fights. That it's happened all the time. There was a teeny bit of controversy there at the end about whether or not that fight was stopped a little bit earlier than it needed to be. But Herb Dean, the ref there, he's best in the business. And as I was watching the fights again this morning, they've got a perfect angle from his vantage point. Fedor's face is down on the mat, and he's just getting pounded. You gotta stop the fight there.
Yeah, absolutely. And y'all let's have the listeners get your background at MMA Nonstop, because I found it, especially in Central Texas, y'all are one of the most complete groups. And I say Central Texas, but nationwide, I would put what y'all do up against a lot of folks and not know any difference between y'all's hard work and efforts and anyone else in the great sport of MMA.
Well, we appreciate that a lot, Foss. But MMAnonstop.com, it combines all your news from all your regular sources that you go to, MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, Bloody Elbow, all those types of sites that you have. It combines all the news in one place. We also feature exclusive articles written by myself, by Brian, by Brendan Churchin, talking about the hot topics of the week. You can find all those articles right on the homepage at MMAnonstop.com. We also have a weekly podcast, with the hottest fighters in MMA. We've talked to Jake Ellenberger. We've talked to Carlos Condit. We're talking to Jim Miller this week. A lot of exciting fighters that we've talked to that are right in the mix of looking for a title or looking for to make a name for themselves. And you can find that at MMAnonstop.com/podcast. Also follow us at MMA Nonstop or on Twitter on Nonstop MMA. You'll see kind of our updates and our plugs and what we do and how we can reach out to the listeners. We also have tons of giveaways for fans, and we want to give back to people and keep people up to date what's going on.
That's right, and that's why we enjoy having you on 104.9 The Horn when Laying Down the Law, because, again, I think the sport has done a tremendous job in reaching the public who enjoy it. I've been to several matches. I've seen y'all there. Our producer, Eddie Cross, as well, kind of really brought me along and educated me offline, and we've had the opportunity to see several different MMA bouts, and we also are looking forward to getting down to Houston, if we can, to UFC 136.
Yeah, we will definitely be at UFC 136. There's going to be the expo there. We also watch every single pay-per-view. When we're not there live, here right in Austin, we go to Third Base. We have giveaways there. So if people want to come down and watch the pay-per-views, you go to the downtown or the Round Rock Third Base. We're going to have giveaways from Form Athletics, from The Science, from Team Robati, Round Rock DJJ right here in the city. Needleworks Tattoo, CardinalDamage.com. We're going to be giving away items from all of those, and we're looking forward to that.
Oh, absolutely, and we appreciate all those that work with you that support what your efforts are lending and showing to the listening public.
Right on.
Hey, fellas,
what do you think about Tim?
Sorry, fellas. Just to get back to last night's card real quick, have you heard anything on the futures of Dan Henderson and Fedor?
You know, if you really look at Fedor, he's lost 2 in a row, and
3.
2 in a row coming into last night, and now that third one is Dan Henderson. Usually when a fighter loses 3 in a row, especially someone high profile as Fedor, you got to think that's the end of them in Strikeforce. You know, Alistair Overeem was just released from his contract in Strikeforce. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw them fighting somewhere else on a different card.
Yeah, and I'll follow that up. You know, Henderson said that he wants to stay in Strikeforce. Even though his contract is up, he doesn't have to go back. He is the title holder. He said he wants to defend that title. So I expect to see him continue doing that. And I also wouldn't be totally surprised if Fedor cut another 15 pounds. He does have a little bit more that he could lose, but he should drop down to 205 and see what he could do there, because he's got some serious power. He's like a bear in the ring. If he just loses a little bit of weight, he'll actually be able to do some damage in the 205 division, I think.
Well, we're talking right now with what we call our MMA specialist, MMA Nonstop, Jordan and Brian. Brian, what do you think the Henderson staying in Strikeforce, because now that Dana White's bought both of the properties, definitely not necessarily a need to jump up to UFC, but he still gets some choice opponents in Strikeforce?
Yeah, I think he stays there. You know, it's good for his brand, and it's also good for the Strikeforce brand. It all depends on what the Fertitta brothers and Dana White, or what they want to do, what they see the future of Strikeforce being. Because right now you've got a lot of guys like Nick Diaz just dropped his belt at Strikeforce just so he could have the chance to fight GSP.
Right.
If everybody leaves the Strikeforce division, or the Strikeforce banner, and if Henderson leaves, you just lose a lot of drawing power. You lose a lot of the name power that you have to bring in some of the casual fans to get them to watch.
No, I agree. And, you know, we have been, Cedar Park Center for Strikeforce, the Frank Irwin Center for UFC. So, Eddie Cross?
Hey, what do you guys think about the future of women's MMA? I know Dana White's not big on female fighters, and it's a big draw in Strikeforce with Miesha Tate pulling out the great submission last night. Have you heard anything about what's going to happen with those ladies?
You know, I think Dana White isn't necessarily against it as much as he just doesn't think there's enough talent. But last night was a great opportunity for Miesha Tate and Marlos Conan to really show the world and Dana White that women's MMA is here to stay. That was a great submission that she did to Marlos Conan, who's never been submitted before, and she really showed that the women can be exciting. You have Cyborg, you have Gina Carano, and a few other women fighters that really can make an impact. But after that, there's not tons more. So hopefully we can build this up and get those women fighters out there, and we can see them make this more of a global sport.
Hey, we certainly appreciate it, gentlemen. Great coverage. Listen, MMAnonstop.com. Also follow these guys on Twitter. Check out their website. They're up to minute, up to date on all your MMA news from several sources, everywhere, anywhere. Go find out. MMAnonstop.com. Jordan, Brian, thank you, and we'll talk to you soon.
Appreciate it a lot.